In the scorching heat of southern Afghanistan, the city of Kandahar has always been more than just a place, it's a symbol. For centuries, it has been the beating heart of Afghanistan's power, politics, and pride. Whoever controlled Kandahar controlled the south, and whoever lost it, lost a war. But in late 2001, as the world watched the skies over Afghanistan fill with smoke and fire, Kandahar became the stage for one of the most defining moments in modern history, the fall of the Taliban's first rule. This was not just the collapse of a city, it was the end of an era. For 5 long years, the Taliban had ruled Afghanistan from Kandahar. The group's founder, Mullah Muhammad Omar, had declared the city his capital after taking it in 1994. From here, their movement spread across the nation with brutal speed, promising order but delivering fear under their regime. Music was banned, women were erased from public life, and an entire generation grew up under the shadow of rigid ideology. Kandahar was their pride, their fortress, and their sanctuary. But in the aftermath of the September 11th attacks in 2001, that sanctuary turned into their greatest trap. When the United States launched Operation Enduring Freedom, Kandahar was suddenly the center of the world's attention. The Americans promised justice, but behind that promise lay a strategy to dismantle the Taliban from the inside out and to strike at the heart of their power, Kandahar. In early October, the first bombs fell. The sound of explosions echoed through the mountains, shaking a city that had once seemed untouchable. Within weeks, the Taliban's outer defenses began to crumble. American air power pounded targets day and night, while anti-Taliban forces, known as the Northern Alliance, advanced in the north. Yet in the south, Kandahar held firm. It was here, in dusty streets and hidden compounds, that the Taliban made their last stand. For foreign journalists who managed to get close, the city looked like a ghost town. Streets once crowded with traders and children were silent. Men with turbans and old rifles stood at checkpoints, waiting for an enemy they couldn't see. The Taliban believed their faith would protect them. The Americans believed their technology would crush them. What followed was a collision between centuries-ancient resilience versus modern firepower. By November, Taliban positions were collapsing across the country. Mazar-e-Sharif fell, Kabul fell, Herat fell. Only Kandahar remained. It was no longer a question of if the Taliban would fall, but when. But to understand why this battle mattered so much, you have to understand what Kandahar represents. Kandahar isn't just geography, it's history. Founded by Alexander the Great more than 2,000 years ago, the city has seen countless empires rise and fall. It was here that the British Empire fought bloody battles in the 19th century. It was here that the Soviets met resistance in the 1980s. And it was here, once again, that the world's most powerful army came face to face with Afghanistan's unbreakable terrain and spirit. As American special forces and Afghan tribal fighters closed in, tension inside Kandahar reached its peak. The Taliban's leadership fractured. Some wanted to fight to the death, others sought escape. Mullah Omar himself vanished, refusing to surrender, but unable to command. Rumors spread that he had fled the city by motorcycle. A symbol of a regime that once roared across Afghanistan, now reduced to running for survival. What made the fall of Kandahar unique was not just military might, it was psychology. The Taliban's belief system depended on control, on fear, on the illusion of invincibility. Once that illusion cracked, their entire movement began to unravel. On December 7, 2001, after weeks of bombardment and skirmishes, Taliban officials in Kandahar agreed to surrender. But it wasn't a clean victory. Many fighters melted away into villages, blending back into the land they came from. The Americans celebrated, declaring the end of Taliban rule. But the war was far from over. Still, in that moment, the fall of Kandahar marked a turning point. For the first time since 1994, the city was no longer under Taliban control. The world watched in disbelief. How could a group that seemed unstoppable collapse so fast? The answer lies in a mixture of power, pressure, and geography. The U.S. military combined precise airstrikes with alliances among local Afghan leaders. They didn't just attack the Taliban from the air, they cut off their supply routes, surrounded their safe havens, and turned tribal loyalties against them. The Taliban were trapped by their own homeland. But even as smoke rose from Kandahar's ruins, history whispered a warning. Afghanistan has defeated empires before the British, the Soviets, even Alexander the Great. The Americans had won the battle, but had they learned from history? Afghanistan's mountains and deserts have a strange way of humbling those who think they can control them. The same geography that destroyed past invaders remained unchanged, and while the Taliban had fallen, they had not disappeared. They faded into the mountains, into Pakistan's borderlands, and into the memories of those who still believed in their cause. Over the next 2 decades, those shadows grew stronger. What seemed like an end in 2001 became a beginning of another long war. The fall of Kandahar was supposed to mark the dawn of peace. Instead, it became the first chapter in a story that would stretch on for 20 more years. Yet at that moment, in December 2001, the images of victory were everywhere. U.S. Marines raising flags, local warlords declaring freedom, and journalists reporting from a city that had finally been liberated. People celebrated, thinking Afghanistan had been freed from fear. Women walked outside again. Music played in bazaars for the first time in years. Hope returned, fragile but real. But Afghanistan's story has never been simple. Progress here comes slowly, and every achievement is shadowed by the lessons of the past. In the years that followed, billions were spent rebuilding, training, and dreaming of a stable future. Yet corruption, political division, and dependence on foreign aid slowly eroded that dream. The Taliban, watching from afar, waited. They rebuilt networks, recruited from villages, and used the same geography that once defeated them to stage a comeback. The world had changed, but Afghanistan's mountains remained the same, ancient, patient, and indifferent. Looking back, the fall of Kandahar wasn't just the end of Taliban rule. It was proof that victory in Afghanistan is never permanent. It was a reminder that the real power lies not in bombs or politics, but in the land itself. The same land that turned back empires for centuries. Afghanistan has earned its title, the graveyard of empires, not because of magic or myth, but because of its people and terrain. Empires come with pride, but they always leave with humility. Kandahar's fall in 2001 symbolized both hope and warning. Hope for change and warning that the story wasn't finished. In the years that followed, Kandahar would rise and fall again. The same city that witnessed the end of Taliban rule in 2001 would once again see their return in 2021. It's as if history in Afghanistan moves in circles, not lines. Every victory carries the seeds of another defeat. Every fall carries the promise of another rise. Still, when you walk through Kandahar today, beneath the dust and ruins, you can feel the weight of history. The echoes of empires linger in its walls. The people who live there have seen more wars than generations elsewhere see in centuries, yet they endure. Because to live in Afghanistan is to adapt, to survive, to rise again, no matter how many times the world changes around you. The fall of Kandahar will always stand as a turning point, a moment when one regime ended and another began. It's a story about power, faith, and geography. It's about how one city became the symbol of both victory and defeat. And it is a reminder to every empire that dreams of conquest. Afghanistan does not surrender easily. It listens, it waits, and it remembers. In 2001, the smoke over Kandahar marked the end of Taliban rule, but it also marked the beginning of the longest war in modern history. For the world, it was a mission accomplished. For Afghanistan, it was just another chapter, because in this land of mountains and deserts, nothing truly ends. Empires fall, armies fade, and rulers change, but the spirit of Afghanistan endures, and just like those who came before, every power that enters learns the same lesson. In the graveyard of empires, no one stays victorious for long.